Welcome, in front of me is the Samsung Galaxy S20 Fan Edition, and today I will go over unboxing along with an overview of the device itself. So let's pop it open and get a look at it. So I'll start off the bat. The boxing is actually something that is a little bit different from the typical Samsung packaging. It has like basically imprinted a bunch of logos on it, so just a little change in packaging, I guess. But then again, on the top here we got a casing right here, or casing, I hope there is a case actually. Nope, there isn't a case, just the paperwork. So yeah, paperwork and some eject tool. Still no case for the phone. Then we get the phone itself. Now I'm gonna set it to the side for now. Let me just get the tray, and also typical paper, typical trash charger, and this is a 15 watt, so literal garbage right here. And then we get a fairly big piece of paper for a fairly small amount of cable right here. Now it looks like already somebody unpacked it, so it kind of looks a little bit messed up, but it's just a type A to type C, which again is a little bit dated, considering I think there are already S20s lineup, majority of them, at least the S20 and Ultra and stuff like that, did come with a charger that was type C to type C, so this ain't it. So just drop that in here and put it to the side and get the phone. So looks like it's off. Let's power it on. So obviously you can see it gives us the S20 FE right here for Fan Edition. So while it's turning on, I'm gonna go over the specs. So we're dealing with a 6.5-inch display, 1080p by 2400, so just a typical majority of the phones at right now in 2020. Basically every phone almost that I've reviewed right here had a 1080p display, and that includes flagships along with mid-range specs. So let's just change the language to English, whatever that can work. And it's a Super AMOLED display. Obviously it's a Samsung, so you would expect it to be with a well, I already said the resolution, but with a refresh rate of 120 Hz, so that is really nice. And also has HDR10 Plus, that's because of the Super AMOLED display obviously, and 84.8% screen to body ratio with a 407 pixels per inch. So like I said, just a kind of typical specs for flagships and mid-range devices nowadays. So that is basically the front of the device. Now it looks a little bit kind of boxy, I would say. Majority of the Samsung devices that I have seen in recent timing were a little bit more soft looking. I'm not really sure how to describe it, but because of the flat front screen along with this a little bit more sharp designs right here, it seems a little bit more boxy, and in general kind of seems a little bit more outdated, I would say. Something that's kind of weird, because the Note series was similarly designed, but it felt a little bit better. I don't know why. It just feels like a bit of a more budget device, honestly. That's just a first impression though, keep that in mind. Now, something that doesn't feel like a budget device is the 120 Hz refresh rate, so that is super nice. And apart from that, I mean, it runs like a flagship. It does run almost on the best Snapdragon. So this is a Snapdragon 865. The better one is the 865 Plus, which that isn't. But still, not much of a upgrade here, I would say, from the normal one to the Plus version. So yeah. Now moving to the camera setups. At the front we got a fairly hefty 32 megapixel wide sensor that shoots at 4K, 30 and also 60, and well, 1080p obviously shoots at 30 and 60 as well, so that is super nice. And then if we move to the back, let me just lock it, there we go. So if we move to the back, we have triple camera setup right here, obviously you can see it, and that is 12 megapixel wide sensor as a main shooter, and then we got a 8 megapixel telephoto and 12 megapixel ultra wide. So we have 12 wide, 8 tele, and 12 ultra. And again, 4K, 30, 60, 1080p, 3060 as well. So obviously the cameras are fairly good. It's Samsung, so you would expect it to be decent, and the pixel count on them might not be the most well, the biggest one, but I'm fairly sure that the cameras here can keep up with whatever you throw at it for the majority of the time. So we're gonna capture a couple of photos of the plant and see how it comes out. Now, these tests won't be really anything significant. Most likely we'll be missing things like the HDR control right here, so you won't be able to see how the phone, for instance, deals with direct sunlight and how it controls it. And this is more for like a quick quality check, I would say. Moving outside of the camera, because I'm gonna go through the test at the end, we can go through the last parts of the display, or the device I mean, after I actually quickly change the display so it doesn't keep basically turning off. So screen timeout, let's just make it 5 minutes, there we go. So it comes with a Snapdragon 865 like I said before, and has also a couple different variants. So it comes with either 128 gigabyte storage and 256 storage, and also you have a couple different RAM options. So we have 6 and 8. Now when it comes down to the RAM, with 128 gigs you can get either 6 or 8, but with the 256 you only have the 8 gigabyte option. So if you go for more storage, you get basically getting the top spec of this device, but with the lower storage you have the 2 options of RAM. And then also you have 4500 milliamp hour battery built into it, and like I said before, this puny charger of like, I think it was 15 watts, but the phone apparently is capable of charging at 25 watts. So if you have charger from like a different device, different Samsung for instance, a better one, or at least older ones where they used to include a better charger, then you can charge it a little bit faster. So that is basically a nice plus here. Now also you have the ability to charge it wirelessly at 15 watts if you want it. So basically you're charging it as quick as the wired charger, which is not really sure why that is the case. And you have the reverse wireless charging, obviously at 4.5 watts. So if you have some kind of buds, you can basically reverse charge them, so they're always top. And yeah, apart from that, there's not much more to say. So let's get the camera up open and try to not destroy my plant right here. Okay. So okay, let's see. Now let me quickly also check and wipe out the sensor so it's fully clean. There we go, nice and shiny. There we go, no smudges on it. So so this is a 3x zoom. Now let's see if there's some kind of macro lens. So it looks like there is no macro lens unless it's AI based. So nope, it looks like there is no. I mean, you can physically zoom it closer, so as you can see, you can get it quite close. Can even go actually further if I wanted to, so times 20, but it starts looking a little bit bad. Although it does catch at a further distance, it does catch focus on it. Now I'm gonna capture this just for a test. I don't expect it to look any good. If my hand would be less shaky, that would probably come out even better. So this is I believe it was 30x zoom on this tiny little plant right here. So it did do a fairly good job. Now obviously if I would be shooting something a little bit further and actually something that has a little bit more content than just a couple leaves, that would most likely come out better. But this is just a normal sensor, the 12 megapixel one. And as you can see, it is fairly detailed. It looks really nice. It did a little bit of blurring on the sides, as you can see right over here. Hopefully you can get a look at it. It looks like it created almost like a halo all around it. So it focused on the plant right here, and then everything around it seems a little bit blurry. Now this is, I believe, probably like an AI kind of thing rather than the camera itself. So I'm gonna check it quickly by going into something like a pro mode, where I believe this option should be then disabled. So make sure if it's autofocus. Yep, it is autofocus. Yep, let's look at it again. So it looks like it still keeps that kind of blur around. As you can clearly see it right here, this is like super drastic. Comparing it to, for instance, just like the one right here. So all around it just kind of becomes a little bit blurry. Now this is zoomed in really closely, but it's also to demonstrate that effect, which I actually haven't seen before. I'm gonna quickly check my phone just to compare it to. Now I actually will be honest, I don't exactly remember the lenses that this phone has, and it also is a little bit scratched, so keep that in mind. Battery too low for flash, no one cares. So this is more to test if this kind of comes out the same way. Now I don't want a super macro lens, so I'm gonna disable that. I'm also trying to shoot at the same distance, so there's not much discrepancy in that. And it still does a little bit blur on mine as well, but I would say that I captured a bad photo though, overall. So let's try it again. So this looks like it's constantly coming out blurry actually. So right here in the 5x zoom I can already see that it blurs it out. So in general it does do a little bit of weird blur, I would say. At least on my phone as well, although I can say that it has done it right here. So this was just a normal one at a further distance. Now obviously it looks like it has less detail on here. So the Samsung most certainly had a little bit more detail in the photo. If I can actually get it, my hand, there we go, and zoom it in, you can clearly see the difference now. Where I have to do, say, for instance, my old phone will probably go better as in macro setup. So, because this is at a fairly close range, if I go and switch to something like a super macro, I can quickly capture a photo, hopefully. Just quickly place that here. Now this is at a little bit of a further distance, yeah, a bit too far of a distance. So yeah, I could basically get really close to it and then capture way more detail in it, something that this phone can't do. I'm only trying to kind of showcase this, but the shadow is not very cooperative here. There we go. So I think this will be a little bit better as an example. So you can clearly see the detail here, and the macro is well, way better than, for instance, the 12 megapixel sensor right here. So a benefit that I can have that, well, this device cannot. Now this is just a single lens that I quite often test. That's primarily because a lot of phones actually add these depth sensors and, for instance, macro lenses that are completely useless. Now, I cannot say that this is the case right here. Samsung didn't add a useless macro lens or depth sensor that just has like 2 megapixels, something like that. So, and every sensor on here actually does a fairly decent job. The quality of it, as you've seen, was better than, for instance, what I can capture. Now, keep in mind that, like I said, that my lens is scratched, so that could be the reason for it. But the quality of it came out really nice, sharp. Like I said, downside is you don't have a macro lens, which I really like to use, actually. For just like a really close-up shots, just more of a fun novelty lens, I would say, rather than something that I can use for shooting, I don't know, landscape and stuff like that. So for normal photography, the 12 megapixel is decent enough. And like I said before, I have no idea how it deals with lighting, so in HDR situations, I guess that's something that you have to test. And then lastly, outside of the cameras, comes the price tag. And this device comes at around 700 euros, which honestly, for the price that it comes at and the specs that it has, I do have to say this is a fairly good phone, and I would most certainly recommend it. Now, it does seem a little bit weird in terms of the aesthetic design. It seems a little bit thick, actually. It's not necessarily the smallest phone. The camera bump is here. It's lacking a headphone jack, as you can see. So there's no headphone jack anywhere. There is, I believe, under display fingerprint sensor. Let me quickly check it though. So fingerprint, continue. I'm gonna quickly go through a setup just so we can verify it. And yep, there it is. So it is under finger. So you're also getting a sonic fingerprint reader from Samsung, so it does work fairly well. It's reliable and does work really fast. Now setup of it isn't necessarily good representation of how fast it is, but there we go. So done. Now let me quickly lock it. So you can see it works fairly well. So the phone is basically at a really nice price range. I really like the fact that they didn't go to like $1,000 or something like that. So it's at 700 euros, which comes close to also $700, I would say. It might be a little bit more or less. I'm not exactly sure what's the difference in like how dollar and euro exactly stand. But for that price, even if it's like $50 more, for instance, or something like that, honestly, it's still a really enticing price range for this device and what it offers. And that is basically my personal opinion. Now, I literally done a unboxing a couple days ago of another device that also costed about 700 euros, but was basically mid-range specifications and did nothing that was as good as this. And now, if you've seen that video, I wasn't really sure what to recommend in terms of another phone. I did remember there was another phone that had better specs at a similar price range. Now I basically know what to recommend. Samsung right here. It's basically same price, just everything better. And really recommend this phone. So if you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.